woods makes me uncomfortable.
It's right back there.
We have a live audience. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm gonna do kind of a one-year owner review on my car. I'm just gonna go over a few things that I like about the car and a few things that I don't like, and I'm gonna bring you guys along with me. So just in case you are thinking about purchasing one of these for yourself, this might give you a better idea as to somebody who's actually owned one for a long enough period of time, whether you'd actually want to go buy one or not. Also, I'm gonna be using my phone as a microphone to give you guys some better audio. First thing I'd like to talk about would be the styling of the car. Every hatchback has that unique look to it. It's nothing like your sporty sedan or, you know, your two-seater, like something like an FRS. It's definitely got its own type of feel to it. And that was something that I was looking for when I was looking for my next car purchase, because I had come from a Mustang before then, and I really wanted something a little bit smaller, a little bit more compact, and a little bit more sporty looking. And I really enjoyed the rally type look. Sorry, this dude's freaking me out. I like the body lines. I like the shape of the car. And then when you look back towards the spoiler, it just kind of gives you that aggressive rally look. The next thing I'm going to talk about is costs. Overall, how much money is this thing going to suck out of my wallet if I want to be that normal car enthusiast? It is in the mid-range for hatchbacks or sportier cars, like in price. I picked this one up in specific for $16,500 before taxes and everything, so that was like the cost of the vehicle. And with that, I was lucky enough to get the SD3 package, so it has the leather seats, it has the leather Recaros, and it has the nav and all the bells and whistles that you could possibly want. In terms of price, like I was talking about, this car is relatively inexpensive to run, at least in my experience for having it for a year. The gas tank for one is only 11.9 gallons. So when you go to the gas station to fill up, you're not going to be spending $40-50 unless you live in California for a tank of 93, because this car does require 93 from the factory. So you will be having to factor that into the cost a little bit of owning this car. But for me, it's usually around $26 to $27 to fill up an entire tank of 93, which I love that, and that's partially because of where I live. Insurance is not terrible with this car. It is, I mean, I'm only 20 years old and I am on my parents' insurance, so you could get away with it like that. And I think for me, it's about $150 a month for full coverage. So if you were worried about that, if you wanted to look into getting a sportier car, definitely keep that in mind, but still, it's not terrible. It's got 4 doors, it's front wheel drive, it's a 4-cylinder, it is turbocharged, but insurance takes all of that into account. And then of course you've got your regular maintenance, so oil and all that. This does take full synthetic oil, so that is kind of expensive, and if you do it yourself, it's usually around $70. That's not too bad, and you should be changing the oil every 3,500 miles on these cars, because this car is turbocharged and it's a GDI engine, so they really don't enjoy having high mileage oil that's not synthetic being, you know, spewed all over the turbocharger in my case, because I need to catch a can. You will be giving this thing as high a quality of oil and maintenance as you possibly can. Every other sports car is kind of the same deal, so that's definitely one thing to keep in mind. Next thing I want to mention on this car is it is pretty easy to modify. If you've been following the channel for a decent amount of time, you know we have the exhaust on it. One of the very first things I did to the car, along with the downpipe, that wasn't too bad to get into, and the downpipe is held on by a V-band clamp, so it's not terrible to install. And of course we have the cold air intake on here. That wasn't too hard to install. We also have shifter cable and bushings. We have a short shift plate. Everything was relatively easy to access in the car, and it is a Ford, and they do tend to keep things pretty simple, so that's kind of a good thing if you're looking to modify the car. And then of course we have the wing risers on the car, which that was really easy to do as well. Modability for this car and the aftermarket support is really great, and a lot of websites make a lot of different parts for it and offer a ton of different things, so you can really make this car super custom if you were to want to go that far. And the next thing I want to mention is drivability on this car. This car is definitely a car where you can just hop straight into it, even if you don't really know manual, and somebody could easily teach you manual in this car, which I recommend this car if you want a really, you know, a decently fast, fun first manual car, because this is a super easy car to learn on. That was one of the first things that I noticed about this car when I had picked it up. The visibility is decent. It does lack a little bit on stock suspension if you were to take it into the corners, but once you have something like we do, we have H&R lowering springs on here, it just stiffens it up just a little bit, and it makes the car look a little bit better because it's a little lower too, so that's another thing to keep in mind. And the last thing I like about the car before we get into the dislikes, because there are some, is the Practicality. So it gets great gas mileage, even with a tune, with the pops and bangs and other modifications that I've done to the car. I can get 26 miles per gallon average, but right now I'm averaging 24. The last thing I want to talk about before we get to the things that I do not like about the car is the practicality. If you've been following the channel from a long way back, you know that I actually moved down here with this car. This car has so much space in the back and in the front, and even if I were to get in the back, I'm 5'10", and I do have a pretty long torso. Okay, that wasn't a very good example. I should hit my head on the car. But I got some pretty decent, they cut out a cavity right here in the roof for like your head if you were to have passengers back here. I have plenty of leg room here, and even if you had longer legs, there is a cutout in the seat here. There's enough room back here to really kind of stretch out. But yeah, back seat, I've never particularly sat in here for a long period of time, but just from sitting back here right now, even the middle seat is pretty comfortable. So I'd say back seat room, I don't know, it's great for a short drive, but I wouldn't be back there for a long time. And then the trunk, if you follow me. All right, so trunk space. For example, I play golf. This won't fit a golf bag in it just by itself, but the seats do fold down, so you could actually fit like 3 or 4 golf bags back here if you wanted to. Trunk space, it's pretty big. I mean, it can fit one full-size Ben in the back without a problem. I would say it's probably pretty good. You know, the trunk size is decent. It's better than subpar. So onto the front seat.
Being kidnapped, be like, all right, let me out now.
All right, so this brings me to the things that I do not like about the car. So let's go to the front seat, and that would be the quality of the interior, like the plastics and everything. It's noticeably cheap. Like, you can even hear it. It's all, everything is like that, all over the place. And I just don't really like that. So, I mean, it's not like, I think for the money, when this thing first came out, I have my original window sticker on here, and I'm the second owner of this car. So the previous owner bought this car brand new, and this car brand new was $30,440. So for $30,000 you get some really nice plastic. Yeah, that's not. And another feature I forgot to mention that I do like, I know this is supposed to be about what I don't like, but it does have a heated steering wheel and heated seats, and that is only with the ST3 though. I think you can get the heated seats with the ST2 and maybe even the ST1, but I'm positive that it comes with the ST2 and the ST3. And sitting here reminds me of my next thing that I don't like. I don't like the seating position on this car. It puts your legs kind of upright, like you're sitting like this. It's not like a very good feeling. It feels like I'm pushing the clutch kind of down into the floor instead of back. So that's a little bit awkward. I know I mentioned that the driving position was nice to get into, and it looks nice here, but if you really kind of sit in this car for a long time, you'll notice how it's kind of weird pushing the clutch in like that. All right, let's move along to the back now. Another thing I really don't like. What are you doing? That's not exciting to look at. The back of this car versus almost every other hatchback is not exciting to look at in any way, shape, or form. Let's just take a look at this for a second. You enjoying that? Because I'm not. Adding the wing risers did help a little bit because it makes the wing, it rakes it a little more, it makes it look a little bit more aggressive. I will say that the angle from right here looks really sweet, so I will give it that. But the straight on view from the back of the car, not doing it for me, Ford. However, the front of the car, you did a good job. It's kind of like they made it starting from the front. It looked really great, and then all of a sudden they got rushed and they're like, quick, just chuck the back. Next thing that I do not like, not the hood of the car, the engine. The EcoBoost engine has some weird quirks that are super annoying. This car has been really good to me. It hasn't given me any major issues, but that's why I said quirks. For one, if you cold start this car, it will kind of give this strange kind of backfiring. And a lot of people, I see a lot of people in the Facebook group saying this too, and they freak out because they think something's going wrong or that it's misfiring. No, that's completely normal. It's super annoying, but it'll just sit there and make these really stupid popping and like pinging noises at idle. Number 2, it hates part throttle. If you're at like 15-20% throttle, you might get a few backfires. Not like backfires, it feels like a misfire, and this is also when it's cold. But if you're just starting out in first after warming it up for like maybe 5 minutes, if you start off at part throttle, it doesn't like it. And that's purely just it being cold and it being an EcoBoost engine. That's one thing that kind of threw me off when I first drove this car. I thought maybe I did something wrong, or maybe the car was, you know, hurt a little bit. No, that's normal. The last thing that really ticks me off, because I'm in the middle of I've been trying to find wheels since I bought this car. Aftermarket wheel support for this car is lacking. Every other wheel pattern on the face of the planet is a normal lug pattern. 5x120, 5x114, 5x112, whatever. These are 5x108s. So if you're trying to find wheels, you're super limited to a few brands that everybody does, and it's super, super annoying. And also, you cannot fit anything greater than a plus 35 offset in here if you don't use camber. If you want anything any more aggressive than a 35 offset, like a 30, a 25, anything under that, you have to camber the wheels, destroy your tires. And I'm not really into the like insane camber look. There's tons of wheels that I want to put on this car, but they don't fit. And even if I did want to do 35 offset wheels, I'd have to get rear camber arms and other suspension components just to make it fit, and it might not even fit that great in the first place. Yeah, other than that, great car. Thank you guys for coming by. It's been really great owning this car for over a year now. I know I kind of you know, shat upon it in a few areas of its quirks and downsides, but it really is a great car. And if you are thinking of buying one, I would definitely recommend it, because it's a perfect way to get into the car scene. So thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.